All right, thanks for watching again. Mike Bobo, Matt DeBerry, is something you wanted to talk about. Where are people getting it wrong with him?
I just see too many comments from Georgia fans and topics not even related to Mike Bobo saying, well, Georgia's not going to win it all until Mike Bobo's gone. Mike Bobo can't beat a really good defense, blah, blah, blah. He can't beat Alabama. And I've had enough a little bit. If you're an anti-Mike Bobo guy, tell me in the comments section who you'd rather have. Who is out there that you would rather be calling plays at the University of Georgia than Mike Bobo? I know Buster Faulkner is a hot name. He used to coach at Georgia, who I think could be a really good offensive coordinator down the road, maybe at Georgia after Mike Bobo. But the guys, Georgia's offense was really good last year. And Carson Beck had one of the best seasons any quarterback at Georgia has ever had. And I think he's going to take a step forward. I'm done with the Mike Bobo hate. I know people want to remember the South Carolina game, I think, with 2014, Dean, Carolina. The Hudson Mason game. So, 2014. And they want to talk about the Alabama game this past year. It's not Mike Bobo's fault that they couldn't get pushed and didn't win the line of scrimmage. He didn't abandon the run. He actually stayed with it a good bit, hoping that it would work, and it didn't. Georgia lost the line of scrimmage. Mike Bobo didn't drop the handoff with Carson Beck and Dylan Bell. I know maybe people want him to drop things more explosive. I don't know. I just don't understand, Dean or Ryan, the overall hate that a lot of Georgia fans seem to have for a guy who has put together an offense that is scoring 40-plus points. And maybe he has to beat Alabama and win a national title as a play caller for that noise to go away. But it just always feels like there's people, no matter what, they are just anti-Mike Bobo and will never think he's going to get the job done. I still think he has 100%, capability to do that. I think he's a great offensive mind. I mean, am I wrong, or are a lot of people wrong about Mike Bobo?
I mean, it's just whatever the most recent thing that happens with him. People are so wishy-washy about Mike Bobo. During September, when it looked like Georgia was still getting their feet wet, they're going through the cupcake schedule. Maybe it didn't look exactly as pretty as we thought it would be. Everyone was freaking out about Mike Bobo, and then they hang 50-something on Kentucky, and they hang 50-something on Ole Miss, and they beat a team that ends up being top 10 in Missouri, and people are happy again. And then the Alabama game happens, and people start freaking out again. So it's very reactionary based on what the most recent thing that happens. People should not be referencing 2014 or anything from his former stint because it has nothing to do with this. But what people need to remember in evaluating how Mike Bobo did is that this was his first year in this position with this team. And that was a long time ago. This was his first year in this position with this group. It was Carson Beck's first time as a starter in 4 years. A lot of stuff had to be gelled, and stuff doesn't always work immediately. Year 2 and year 3, we'll learn way more about how good Mike Bobo really is. I expect them to take a step forward. But the other thing too, I think statistically, the offense didn't drop off at all from the previous season when they went 15-0 and Todd Monken earned himself an NFL OC job again. So it didn't drop off with different personnel. Not worse. It was different. It was about the same probably in talent. But those are the things to remember about this Mike Bobo situation. He obviously did a really good job when Georgia's fielding a top 10, 12 offense. I can't remember exactly where they ranked and everything, but that was a top 10 offensive group, and they should be again.
Yeah, I mean, good points had by all. I can address the 2014 situation. So Georgia had about 5 yards more a game in this past a season ago than they did this year, which resulted in 1 point more a game a season ago than this year. So they were both at 40 or 41.1. So 40.1 and 41.1. It's kind of negligible they could have used that point against Alabama, I guess. It wouldn't have won them the game. Look, Mike has proven over time just how good he is consistently. When you think about, you want to talk about the 2014 season? What did he do to Brent Venables? He put 45 on Clemson's ass that night. And that was a pretty, we were led to believe how good that they were. I'm trying to think of, the reason why Georgia lost to South Carolina in 2014, 10 seasons ago, was because of Jeremy Pruitt giving up 38 points, 38 points to Connor Shaw's replacement, who I cannot remember, and a decent running back from DeKalb County whose name I can also not remember. So, and I'm not trying to be funny, I just don't remember that. So we've seen one season of Georgia football under Mike Bobo as the offensive coordinator. Was it as good as Todd Monken's? It didn't seem like it was, but the numbers don't lie. He also wasn't in year 3 in that scenario, and Todd had a lot to go through too. I think what people want is Georgia to win every single game. I mean, it's just what it is, Matt. And then they want total destruction, which is harder to come by. I think that maneuvering Carson in September was not the same as Carson in November. And I think that was about growing up. I've spent time with Mike in terms of interviews. We don't get those opportunities anymore. But, I think he has a very level head. I think, Matt, he understands that, as it relates specifically to Carson, guys have to grow up on their own time. And I would have to say that going into 2024, Carson Beck looks grown up to me.
100%. And what he's done with his quarterbacks, Matthew Stafford got better each and every year under Mike Bobo. Aaron Murray got better each and every year. We're seeing Carson Beck got better last year, should be better this year. Nobody was making Joe Cox and Hudson Mason better. I mean, those guys had to sit on the bench for 4 years to finally play for a reason, because they weren't that good. And that's not Mike Bobo's fault. He can only do so much with Hudson Mason, who just again, wasn't very good. But they've run the ball successfully under Mike, too. He wants to run the ball. He wants to play power football, but he understands the quarterback position, how to develop those guys, how to make them better, and stretch the field as well. He's had some explosive offenses, and the guy knows what he's doing. He's not some young buck offensive coordinator with this new, scheme or new style of play calling. Mike definitely adapts, and he learned a lot under Todd. But Kirby told us, I think early in the season, we're not running a whole lot of different plays than we were last year. We're keeping it pretty simple. We're doing the same things. When we play a Vanderbilt, a team that doesn't really matter, we can just throw little wide receiver screens the whole time and win that way. They adapt. They know how to attack the defense's weakness. They just ran up against an Alabama team that seemed like wanted it more, executed better, and played really well defensively. It didn't let Georgia run the ball, which made things a little more difficult. But I think it's the games that Georgia loses when he is the OC and they don't score 30, 40 points, Dean. It's easy to look at Mike Bobo and say, oh, he's the guy. It's his fault. He's got to go. But at the end of the day, he is one of the best offensive coordinators in college football, and I think he proved it again last year, and I expect him to do it again in 2024.
Yeah, when people are asking me what they should bet on Georgia games, should I bet that they're gonna cover this game? I always tell them that I'm staying far away from that, because they will make the game plan exactly what they want it to be. If they want to hand the ball off 50 times and beat Vanderbilt by 14 points, they're going to do that. If they want to air out, they're going to do that. There's not just one identity in the Georgia offense. At least I feel like there hasn't been one the last few years. I think that they're very versatile and can do a lot of things. More points for Mike Bobo. It's not his fault that Carson Beck couldn't connect on deep balls all year long. We think about Georgia's offense a little bit differently if they connect on 3 or 4 of them throughout the year, because that's something that they struggled with all year long. That would boost the numbers up a lot more. So it's things like that are not all his fault. It's also execution on the players. But this will be year 2 now, and it'll be year 2 with a quarterback in the system. Something, I don't know if you guys listened to a little bit of Carson Beck's interview with Aaron Murray when he's talking about why he came back and everything. But he talked about, well, now I'm the guy. And that's what Stetson got in 2022. He wasn't the guy heading into 2021. It was JT. And so then in 2022, heading into that season, Stetson was assured he was the guy. They went through a whole off season where they know he's the one, and it's built around him. Now you get that with Carson, because there was a little bit of a quarterback competition, as much as we always thought it was going to be Carson Beck last offseason. So I think this year will be a lot more valid for us to judge it off of, at least with Mike Bobo.
So what I would say in all of this is, when we have confrontations with people, it's usually people in our family, I would say more often. Mike Bobo is a Georgia guy. people have loved to hate Mike Bobo for coming on decades now. I'm literally old enough to remember because he's a little older than I am, but I remember what it was like when he was a quarterback at Georgia, and people hated him at times. I mean, I would say more often than not that they hated him. He left on a good note after '97, but he took all of the brunt of uh, uh, the '09 season and 10 season. Really, people killed him the whole time. And what was going on in the meantime was he was transitioning from Mark Richt's very conservative offense to Mike Bobo's explosive offense, and that took time. But I think if Arian Smith grabs a ball or two, if Carson throws better balls, if those things happen, you're talking about a very different situation. I think that we can't ignore the injuries to Ladd and Brock, which this offense was never fully healthy all at the same time. Whether you're talking about those two players or Amarius Mims, three guys who are probably going to be top 50 draft picks, maybe top 75 certainly. I think that's what it is. But Mike's been great. Now, it doesn't mean Mike's always perfect. On the Dylan Bell reverse, y'all, if you look at the play, there was not much between Dylan Bell and the end zone. It could going the other way. But he dropped that ball. And so part of coaching is making sure guys execute. That didn't happen on that play. And so Mike and Kirby, they need to be, there needs to be criticism there for that too. But this is about a 40,000-foot view. When you're scoring 40 points a game in the SEC, you're doing something right. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.